All right, as we take a look at the first half highlights, South Carolina State taking on Air Force at Falcon Stadium. Coach, you talked about taking the football, and Air Force rewarded you with the football.
They did. We wanted to take the football because we were afraid of what the altitude would be like, and we wanted to get our defense, a chance to not play so many snaps in the first half, so we took the ball on offense.
10 to 15-mile-an-hour wind. Ryan Harrison sending this one out of the end zone, and South Carolina State begins very well. Will Ford with a 14-yard run.
And you saw Spencer Miller with a good block there on the backside. He's getting to be a pretty good blocker from the backfield. Used to be a tight end.
You look at this offense, Coach, and early in this football game, as we see, we really control their defensive line.
Yeah, we moved the ball in a way where I really felt like, we'd be good all game long. I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't score more points.
Will Ford taking it to midfield. This is the first possession. Jonathan Woods getting the 5-yard run here as well, and he ran the football well.
Right. You see our offensive line there. James Lee, Darrell Pringle, Devin Dawson, Nate Richardson, and Raymond Harrison, all playing fairly decent at that time.
Bulldogs would eventually have to punt the football. Air Force on their first possession. Third down was a killer.
Third down was a kill all game for us, and we kept getting them in the third and long situations, which is what you want to have, and they kept converting.
That was a 3rd and 13. Little play here by David Irby, who had a big game. Both inside linebackers. I think it's a good time for the defense when Tony White and David Irby lead you.
Yeah, Quinn Ellaby was in on that play, too, and then they get a score here.
This was the first score of the game. 8:28 into the first quarter. Air Force finally scores 7-0. This is on their first possession. We held it a while. This is our second possession, and we come back and we move the football again.
Right. We get the little naked route here. Cleve on a comeback, and Terrence Smith catches a nice pass here.
Terrence Smith, I think, had 4 receptions on the day for South Carolina State. Cleve McCoy to give to Jonathan Woods, and Jonathan ran well. A little banged up and bruised. That ankle still seems to be bothering him a bit.
Right, but he did play well there, and we end up hitting Will 40 on a hot route and getting a third down conversion.
Bulldogs now back into Falcon territory again, and we begin to bog down as we got deeper into their territory.
Right, then we get a little bit of screen pass here, and we get a first down. We're in their territory again. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm thinking that, we're in a good enough shape here to maybe get it down and get a score, but we bogged down and end up having to go for a field goal here, and Stephen just barely misses it.
Misses it wide right. That was a 49-yard attempt. What a welcome back for Stephen Grantham that was. That was kicking into the wind. He barely missed it. Air Force a little misdirection. This kid gave us a tough time, Chad Hall, but we bottled him up here.
Right, that's Cedric Lloyd and Phillip Adams there. Phillip is starting to play really good for us at one of the corner positions.
Ced Lloyd, new defensive end, under pressure. This is a third down, and boy, Bailey Princeton almost with a big sack.
And this happened, just time after time there early in the game. We just couldn't seem to get off the football field, and they get a little naked route here. Our free safety kind of looks away, they block, and then after having blocked, then they go ahead and throw the ball to this guy, and we kind of lose him in the whole fray there.
Sean Carney, the Air Force quarterback, is a Davy O'Brien candidate. He had a big day running the football as well as passing the football. Going again here, and Marquis Hamlin coming up with a big stop for South Carolina State.
This is what we really needed here because we wanted to get them stopped, and we couldn't seem to, and then we got the big interception, so I felt really good about this. I see Sterling Blunt there congratulating Marquis.
A lot of folks very concerned at this point. Cleve McCoy under pressure in Air Force. And, Coach, this is the situation, even though it was not a good play, I thought it was a good play because in the past, Cleve would have tried to throw it away, and this time he took the sack.
Yeah, and, I wish he had kept coming outside, but, he felt like he could get away inside. We ended up getting into a situation where we didn't quite move the football after having gotten the turnover. We ended up here, I said, we were so far back just going ahead and running the ball and punting and trying to give our defense better field position. And we get a great punt off here. Aaron Hare gets a 61-yarder.
61 yards to Aaron Hare, his best. Chad Hall, a 15-yard return for South Carolina State.
Yeah, we were about the punt game going in here. We thought they probably put a lot of pressure on us, and I was happy to see that we were able to survive the whole deal.
Another big third down for Sean Carney to Travis Decker for a first down. A little play action fake here, and the tight end open again.
This is one of the same deals here. He blocks and then goes out, and we lose him, and, he gets in for a score.
10:03 to go in the first half. South Carolina State down 14-0, but again, we've moved the football all afternoon on offense, and here, a carom and an interception.
Right, this was a big play here because of the fact that we had just given up a score, and, they get the interception. We ended up actually getting them stopped here. This is
the Bulldogs buckle down. Jason Ayers out of Marlboro County High School, Dean Boyd up there with the sack for South Carolina State, but a big field goal for Ryan Harrison with a strong leg.
But this ended up really being a stop for us because after having given up a score, the very last thing we could afford was to give up another touchdown.
7:13 to go in the first quarter. High kick here for the Bulldogs, and Trevance Jackson, what a return.
Right, this is a good block here by Will Ford, and you know, we get the thing back down into their territory in a hurry.
Javance Jackson, I want to say that was 50 yards on that kickoff return. Bulldogs, for the third time of the day, back in the Air Force territory in good shape, 1st and 10 at the 39.
Yeah, we get another good play here for a minute and get a fumble, and the next thing we know, we'll be back on the defense again.
That was a very close play. It looks like perhaps the ground may have caused that fumble, but after the replay, we could clearly see that it did come out beforehand. Air Force now with the football, and if you did not notice, a little face mask at the end of that penalty.
Yeah, I almost challenged the fumble play there, but I could see on the replay that he was not quite down yet.
Chad Hall getting it into the end zone from the wide receiver position. Up now 24-0 Air Force. But South Carolina said, again, as you've seen, folks, move the football all day long. We do move it down on the next possession. Stephen Grantham, with time expiring, a shot to get us on the board.
Right, Steve makes a 51-yard field goal here, and it looks like it could have been good from another 15 yards.
Stephen Grantham out of South Florence High School, and that's where the first half ended, 24-3. We'll be back with more of the Buddy Pough Show after this time out.